And why this is great is because I've been in every event. Every speaker's been amazing, right? We've learned all kinds of stuff. A lot of it has to do with how to get people to your site, and then what to do with them after. So this is perfect because I'm going to tell you what really matters when they hit your page. Okay? How many people here are the star of their product? Raise your hand. Awesome. How many of you same people feel like you've really dialed in your sales message? Raise your hand. Wow. Okay. No, it's awesome. I'm excited because I promise you at the end of this hour, you're going to know exactly how to do that. Okay? Exactly how to do that. And the way I'm going to teach it to you is using all kinds. I'm going to show you how this same simple formula works across all formats and for all niches, no matter who you are, what you're selling. So we're going to talk about my favorite sales letter from the great John Carlton. I'm going to show you how comedians, when the stakes are at their highest on national television, use this formula. What? I'm going to show you why Weight Watchers paid Jessica Simpson $4 million to lose weight, and she turned around and got pregnant instead. It has nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about. It just cracks me up. But it's going to show you that when the stakes are highest, this is the proven formula that even big ad agencies rely on. And I'm going to show you how my dog Jessie created her own hook. So before we do that, let's talk just a little bit about, this is all about story, okay? Everyone in this room has not just one great story, but we're all of an age to where we've got lots of stories. Like John was asking yesterday, how many people have had near-death experiences, right? I mean, from that, you got to do a little living to get to this age. Everybody's got some pretty awesome stories of trial and error, of triumph, and it's all about using that story as it applies to what you're selling at the time. So speech obviously started about 200,000 years ago. Guys used to sit around the campfire, and like those guys in the corner, you could tell they're going, dude, I got 40 beaver skins that he burns his nuts. And they would tell stories of the big hunt and take odds. And today, we just whisper into our cell phones, Siri, I'm hungry. Siri, bring me pizza. So it's evolved a little bit. It's changed. Symbols have been around forever. We used to write only in symbols. Can you imagine only writing in symbols? Right? Possum track, kangaroo track, human track. Today, very different. And writing has been around for about 7,000 years. Relatively the new kid on the block, frankly, of communication. The first newspaper ever, 59 BC. Did you know that? I actually found a copy. My favorite. The dressing, famous for its creamy smoothness and irresistible tangy kick, has long been a favorite at Caesar family dinners and neighborhood orgies. You can read that later. Today we don't write anymore. We just post funny shit other people said and take credit for it. Like it's 6 shares. Oh my God, I just thought of this and I put it in a graphic. It's really funny. And when people post something like that and they're like, did you see the thing I posted? I'm like, oh my God, yes. You right click, saved, and then paste? That was awesome. Did that come to you in the shower or how did that? So let's take a little trip back if we could. Let's talk about the power of story, the power of words, and again, it's about knowing who you're writing to, right? You got to start there. And Ben talked all about the amazing ways to psycho-demographicalize your perfect avatar, as we call them. So let's talk about a guy named Todd. Let's all be Todd. Let's pretend it's like 1995. Before everybody's wired and information's coming you every 10 seconds, right? And Todd's a bit of a hump, huh? You know what I mean? He's just one of those guys. He's not a loser, but he's a hump, takes too much shit at work, never feels appreciated. His last girlfriend left him for a boxer. His mother expected more. So one day, Todd's driving home late from work because he stayed because the boss asked him and he didn't have the balls to say no. And he's driving his 91 Prelude. He's a little upside down in, but the side of that crack in the moonroof, it's a kick-ass car. So Todd pulls into the parking lot of his apartment complex, and he notices that dickhead from 4-H parked his big old truck in his spot again. Really should say something to that guy, but it's all tatted up, and he's got those weird stickers in his window, so it's probably not worth it. So Todd pulls into a spot marked guest. He meanders over to his mail slot, pulls out his mail, starts the AB pile process. Looking through there, some junk. There's my bill from the bank for the Prelude. There's my new edition of Men's Health magazine that I really need to start reading. And then there's this one piece of mail that it's kind of weird. It doesn't look like a bill, but it doesn't look totally personal. I mean, there's something in it. It's got something lumpy in it. What is that? I gotta look at that. So Todd, you go up into your apartment, you change out of your work clothes, you pour yourself a Diet Sprite. You take a seat on the couch to see what that letter is all about. And you open it up and it says, "Dear Todd, as you can see, I've attached a shiny new nickel to the top of this letter. Why have I done this? Actually, there are two reasons. One, I have something very important to tell you, and I wanted to be absolutely sure that I have your attention. And two, since this nickel is going to help me tell you probably the most amazing true story I've ever heard, it seemed an especially appropriate eye catcher." Here's what this is all about. Just outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, there's a beat-up warehouse where certain unusual types of people like to gather. If you're a stranger out here, you're not just unwelcome, you're meat. And it's very easy to tell if you're not one of the in-group. These guys shave their heads and tattoo swastikas on their scalp. They're permanently pumped with steroid and amphetamine rage. They wear jackboots, carry chains, knives, and baseball bats, and they never, ever fight fair. All fights are 3, 4, or a dozen to 1. They're skinhead neo-Nazis, probably the most vicious and dangerous punks roaming America. Compared with skinheads, an inner-city Compton gang of Crips or Bloods look almost like Boy Scouts. Skinheads never need a reason for violence. Just being alone and close enough to jump will make you an instant victim, Todd. These sick jerks actually enjoy hurting and humiliating people. Anyway, on this particular night, an ordinary-looking man named Chris Clugston made the mistake of driving out to this isolated warehouse. He thought he was going to see a band play music, maybe find a nice girl to dance with, have some fun on a hot summer night. He didn't have much money on him. After paying the cover to get inside and ordering a beer, all he had left was one little nickel in his pocket. Remember that, a single nickel. Not even enough to leave as a tip at the makeshift bar. Chris didn't know what to make of all the skinheads giving him the evil eye. He thought they just had really bad haircuts and silly-tasting clothes. He felt no fear. In fact, as he passed a table of them, he reached out and good-naturedly rubbed one of them on the scalp. "Nice haircut, fella," he said. 3 skinheads stood up and quickly cornered him. The band played on. Now, you have to get the scene right to understand the importance of what happened next. The smallest of the three skinheads coming at Chris was his same size. The others were taller, more muscular, heavier. They were reaching for objects in their pockets. It was too dark to see clearly, smiling with relish for the stomping they expected to hand out. No one in the warehouse had the slightest urge to help or stop the fight. There was nowhere for Chris to escape. In less than a second, he suddenly realized he was about to be jumped by three experienced street fighters, and if he didn't do something right now, his life wasn't worth much more than that nickel in his pocket. Well, what would you have done? Todd was no match for the great John Carlton. I mean, are you sold if you're Todd right there? Do you not need this product in your life? Can you finally handle that dickhead in 4-H? That's knowing your avatar, and that's using story to make your point and to get attention and to win confidence. And it's the same formula that I'm going to teach you today. So who are you? That's a question you got to ask yourself if you are going to put yourself out in front of your crowd and say, accept me, trust me, follow me, I'll get you there. So quickly, just to give you a little bit about who I am, if I could just self-indulge for a moment, I just want to show a couple of old pictures. Yeah, same hair. If it works, you stick with it, man. This is probably about like October of 1969. And you can't tell from the microscopic view, but that sperm is probably really high. And in case you need proof of that, that's mom and dad and little hippie Kev, which oddly somehow led to this. That's me in about 1993, telling jokes to guys like Todd in a club in North Carolina. I did stand-up comedy for about 10 years straight on the road, little honky-tonks and juke joints, and occasionally a club with a front and back door and all kinds of cool stuff. And had a blast, had a great career. I worked with a guy like Jim Brewer, who was famous on SNL as Goat Boy and cool kid. Tommy Chong actually stole some of my pot jokes. Sorry, Tommy, for saying that out loud, but it's true and you know it. Great thrill to work with him. Mucho respect. My best friend in the world is a guy named Billy Gardell, who 22 years after suffering through L.A. and lots of auditions has now become the star of a hit sitcom called Mike and Molly. Very proud of Billy. And so what I learned is, it's funny, when I transitioned out of stand-up and eventually found my way here, I had learned through trying to find jobs that you don't want to talk about the stand-up stuff. I always thought, my first instinct was, well, I think that's neat. That'll be an icebreaker. No, they hear that and they want you to like show up for your bellman shift. They're going, don't hire the comic, you know. Someone's going to offer him a gig and he'll be out of here. But then John showed an interest in my stand-up career, and he said, dude, why aren't you talking all about that? Do you realize how few people in the world have that same experience and how many would like to? And I thought, you know what, that's probably true. And then I started to think about how I approach stand-up comedy and how a lot of that parallels marketing. So the big three things that need to happen when people come to your website is that you need to get their attention, you need to make a connection, and you need them to take action, right? So that means a really simple, straightforward website, not a million buttons for them to push and blinking things and menu items. So take comfort in knowing that what I'm talking about is like a single landing page, total clarity for you and your visitor. Three things need to happen: attention, connection, action. In stand-up, we had a bit of an advantage because you had to win attention quickly as a comic, but they were on your side, right? I mean, you know, they paid to get in. They showered. They went and picked up their date. They wanted her to be laughing because that releases endorphins, and they had a much better chance of getting laid. So with all that going for us, we had about 10 seconds to convince a crowd that we were going to be a good tour leader for the next 30 or 60 minutes. In marketing, you got about half that. You got about 5 seconds. And as John says, when you when you solve a problem for someone, you only create a new problem for them, which is now they have to give you money. So you're going to win by winning the first 5 seconds. You then win about 10 seconds more, and after that, you win about 15 more. So when I say 60 seconds or less, it's not even a one-shot 60-second thing. You have to chunk it down into 5 to 10 second increments. You got to make a connection and stand up. We cast a wide net because there's a lot of different people in the room, right? There's people older, younger, black, white, married, single. So your jokes have to be, they have to encompass common things. But in marketing, we're very targeted, which gives us a big advantage. And action that we're looking for in stand-up is laughter and applause. And with marketing, it's money. And as John says, in marketing, money is applause. So equates very well. So let's talk about, did anybody happen to see David Letterman be given the Kennedy Center Honor Award late last year? One of the people who sort of inducted him was Ray Romano. And the whole reason you know the name Ray Romano is because Ray Romano had that good of a set the first time he was on Letterman. So to a stand-up comic getting a shot on national TV, the stakes can never be higher than that, okay? So what they have to do is immediately establish their persona, set up who they are, and create an expectation for the crowd. So I'm going to show you a couple of Letterman sets. I couldn't dig up Ray Romano's. But let's watch a couple of opening jokes from comics making their first Letterman appearance when the stakes couldn't possibly be higher, and then I'll break down the formula for you.
Hi, everybody. So I don't have too much time up here before my green card expires. See, I grew up in a poor neighborhood in China, and the middle school that I went to 1 year decided to pave the dirt roads with bricks and cement. And the students were required to bring bricks to school, and we worked really hard for 3 weeks. And finally, we built a road. And years later, I heard about the term child labor. I was like, what? Those kids got paid?
Thank you so much. It is so nice to be here today. I tell you, my kids were so bad in Walmart, I actually pulled a fly swatter off the shelf and I spanked them. And just as the fly swatter hit their ass, I thought, I don't have kids.
Great, right? Can't do it much better than that. That's Karen Rontowski, by the way. And, God, I can't remember Joe's last name. I apologize. Great comics. So let's talk about what they just did there. It's the same formula you're going to use to really make a lot of money on your websites. The persona joke formula, it goes like this: identity, struggle, discovery, surprise. Identity, struggle, discovery, surprise. So Joe's was identity. I'm from a small village in China. Struggle is they made us build a road. The discovery was child labor. And the surprise is those kids got paid. For Karen, it was the identity is a mother in Walmart. The struggle is her kids are acting up. The discovery is the fly swatter. And the surprise is I don't have kids. So very funny, and a lot at this point when I teach this to marketers, they often have the same thought, which is, wait a minute, I don't want to write jokes. I don't want to be funny, and I don't want to have to come up with this great surprise all the time. That's the comics job, and that's why they get paid a lot of money, because it takes a lot of creativity to come up with a surprise ending all the time. The great thing is that we don't need to do that. We're going to change one part of that equation. So my opening joke as a comic was my identity was my look. I didn't need to say, hey, I'm Kevin and I smoke a lot of pot. It was pretty obvious. So my joke was, friendly town you've got here. Driving in, I was greeted by the sheriff. Later, I did a little shopping down at the police auction. Excellent bargains. I bought my bong back for $10. And so they would right away knew what I was all about, and I delivered. So how do we apply this to marketing? Like I said, we're only going to change that last part of the equation. And forgive me for not. Okay, so then we're going to talk. I'm going to tell you what that change is in a second. You're going to love it. But let's talk about why story is so important and why story sells. A lot of it might seem obvious, but there's actually a lot of science behind why this is the fact. Story sells because it's how we relate, right? When somebody tells you a story, you remember it, and it's the thing about them that you go off and tell other people, right? So if you see a really cool video and it's got all this interesting information, you're probably going to forget most of those facts and numbers, but what you're gonna do is go tell the story of that person shared with you that made you laugh or you found interesting or you related to. That's what you're going to share later. It's how we relate. It's how we retain information if you put it in story format. It's how we remember it best, and it's how we reciprocate. When somebody tells you a story, what are you thinking in your head already? Holy shit, that's exactly like something that happened to me once, and you can't wait now to tell your story to them. It's how we share. It's how we create relationships. This is from a book named Brainfluence by Roger Dooley. Really good book. Calls it the mind meld effect. Princeton researchers found out that when subjects communicate a story, neural activity in their brains become almost synchronous. A second after specific brain activity was observed in the speaker's brain, the same pattern was repeated in the listener's brain. Okay? This is why video has taken over marketing, because you can control the pitch, you can control the story. It used to be with text, people would come to your site and they'd skim all over the place. You had to write for skimmers, right? Now we get to control the pitch a little bit. That's why they don't put controls on videos a lot of times. It's annoying as hell, but nobody gives it up because it converts better, because you don't want people stopping, getting out of it. You need to create this science, this sharing, this synchronous brain effect going. And it's all because of story. So here's a great example of why story is so important. Anybody watch the show The Next Food Network Star? Any Food Network fans? Love the Food Network. I love this show, The Next Food Network Star. It's one of my guilty pleasures. What's great about it is, I'm fascinated by people like chefs and people who can cook really well. It's not something I've ever taken the time to learn. And so you have to cook so well just to qualify to be a contestant on a show, to potentially have your own show. But what's interesting is, although that's the first criteria, the competition quickly becomes about people's story and if the audience will relate to them. So last season, this very attractive, very stylish young lady named Emily seemed to be a front runner out of the gate. She had everything going for her. She had this look, and she had this really great hook called Retro Rad. So she was like a 50s chick, and she made all these homespun meals, and it was all comfort food, and you thought, this is perfect. I would watch her, and she looks the part, and she just embodied it. But something happened around week 4 or 5 when they started getting into people, and the judges would tell them, you got to start sharing your story more. And something with Emily, I don't know what this poor girl went through or what's made her so sort of closed off, but she refused. She flat out said, I'm not going to talk about my family. I'm not going to talk about relationships or things that I've been through. It's not me. And you could kind of tell by the look on the judges' faces that she was done. And 2 weeks later, she was off the show. And around the same time, this kid, Justin, had the other effect. He had come out first, and he was kind of hip and stylish, but you didn't really notice him. He made good food, but he wasn't, I don't know, you didn't know. He was a restaurant owner from New York. Who cares? But when they started giving him the same advice, he started to talk about how his father was a big influence in his life, and that his dad taught him how to cook. And they shared a passion for cooking and for food, and his dad had passed on, and that every time Justin is in the kitchen, he feels like a piece of his dad is there with him. And that meant a lot to the audience, and you really felt like, every time you watched Justin cook after that, you could root for him because you knew it had this special meaning to it. You can guess who won the show. So Justin will have his new show out, sometime this year. So it's all about story, even if you do something else, even if you're known for something else completely other than what it is you might be talking about. It always comes down to story. Know, like, and trust. That's why story matters so much, right? Most obvious thing I could share with you is that we are 100% more likely to buy from people that we know, like, and trust. It's all for the reasons I've been giving you right now. How was it? Good. Yeah? I'd watch that. Nice. All right. So, shower extra. So, so if you want to be known and remembered to be, you have to reveal yourself in a relatable way. That's the know factor. Again, like Justin did. Like, win respect with authenticity. You've heard a lot about that, right? Talk about who you are. Hey, if you screwed up a few times, admit it, right? Say I didn't know what I was doing. Screwed it all up. Lost a bunch of money. I love John Paul talking about, being a gambler, making money, losing money. You're going to go broke. That gives you character. Talk about it. Hey, you want to trust me? I went broke doing the same shit you're about to do. You don't have to listen to me, but I've been broke and I'm back, and so I'd much rather have the guy who's been broke twice and made money again teaching me how to do it than somebody who's never lost. Trust, share your struggles and secrets. All right, so the KLT sales hook, as you'll notice, that last part goes from surprise to result. Same exact formula. Identity, struggle, discovery, result. Isn't that a load off? You don't have to have a surprise. You don't have to be witty. You don't have to be creative. All you have to do is share the result of what your teaching did for you. Pretty awesome, right? It's the greatest testimonial formula you could ever have. This works great for testimonials, by the way. I'll talk about that in a second. But that's what you want to hear from somebody. What's the result? So here's mine as a consultant. Here's my KLT hook. Hi, I'm Kevin Rogers. That's my identity. That's all you need to know. My struggle is I spent years as a dead broke stand-up comedian. Discovery. Until I discovered how a simple joke formula can be used as an irresistible sales hook and began teaching marketers how to use it to skyrocket sales and grow their businesses. Now I'm one of the most in-demand sales consultants online, earning more in 1 month than I once did in an entire year. So if you want to learn how to be a consultant, that's a pretty effective hook for you. Or if you just want to learn what this formula is, you're very likely to click through, right? If I tell you I'll share it with you on the next page, give me your email and click, you're pretty likely to do that, and I can promise you that because I have a website that does just that, and it does pretty well. So this works for any niche, like I said. Expert freelancer. If you sell tangible goods, how would you do that with tangible goods? Tell the story of the product, why you created it, right? What was your struggle? Why did you create this thing? Digital goods, same thing. Info products, a natural. Affiliate products, this is the one I get. I get a lot of questions about this. If it's an affiliate product, though, it's not my product. Well, whose story counts then? The people who use it, right? So if you're affiliate marketing a really good product, chances are they have some really good testimonials. Tell those people's stories. Maybe you can get on the phone with them. Maybe you can interview the owner of the product. Why did he create it? Use the same formula. Service provider, blogger, Brick and mortar business. A lot of people say, yeah, but I got a little shop on the corner. It doesn't. Why wouldn't I want to know your story, right? If I got 6 choices of where to get frozen yogurt today, which I do where I live, 4 or 5 at least. If I go to your website and, just want to see what the flavors are, but a quick video of you comes on and you say, hey, look, I'm Joe and this is my yogurt shop and it's all organic and we get it from local farmers and, the problem with the big other chains is they're putting a bunch of crap and it comes in on a truck, but we get it fresh every day from Larry out in the fields or whatever. I go, damn, let's go to Joe's place, man. He's doing stuff right? That matters to me. Suddenly now he's number 1 out of 5 choices I have. Works for everything. So let's see how a $5 million TV campaign uses the exact same formula. Probably don't need to point it out to you at this point, but watch the commercial and see if you can spot
I'm
it.
Jessica Simpson, and yes, I'm doing Weight Watchers. There is a lot of pressure to lose weight, but I'm not a supermodel. I'm just Jessica, trying to eat real food in the real world, and I really just want to be healthy for my daughter. So I knew Weight Watchers was the only way to go. It's working. I'm on my way, and it feels amazing. Really, I just want to be a better version of myself.
Aww.
Join for free. You'll see. Weight Watchers, because it works.
You spot it? Pretty linear, right? But they did a really cool thing. And now this is why this formula not only works in its very basic element, but you can start to play with it. What they did is they don't have the result yet, right? They just signed her. They said, we got to let people know we've signed up Jessica. So they used the formula, but they saved the result, which clearly they don't have yet because she just started, as the cliffhanger. Let's see how she does. We read all the time how she struggles with weight. Everybody's on her about it. We already know that. They know we know that. There's the drama. So let's save the result as the cliffhanger. So here it is. I'll just point it out just to be totally obvious.
I'm Jessica Simpson, and yes, I'm doing Weight Watchers. There is a lot of pressure to lose weight, but I'm not a supermodel. I'm just Jessica, trying to eat real food in the real world, and I really just want to be healthy for my daughter. So I knew Weight Watchers was the only way to go. It's working. I'm on my way, and it feels amazing. Really, I just want to be a better version of myself. Join for free. You'll see. Weight Watchers, because it works.
All right? Stakes are high. That's the one they go to. So, is everybody starting to see how you could use this on your site? Yeah? Pretty good? Yeah. Diane? Yeah? I caught you as you're taking a bite. Sorry. Any questions so far? No questions? It's that damn simple. Plus, we're sleepy from lunch. Did you guys drink at lunch, by the way? Anybody drink at lunch? Did anybody want to drink and then not drink? I always love that moment where, it's like, waiter comes over. Hi, can I just start with drinks? Let's start with drinks. Everybody's first guy's like, I'll have an iced tea. And he goes around and somebody goes, yeah, I think I'll have a beer. I mean, you know what? Yeah, I'll change mine to beer. I'll have a beer. Make that a Long Island iced tea if I could. Some comics next. I don't know. It's not going to matter. Remember the first time you got really drunk, like at a party when you're, like underage, and you didn't realize how drunk you were until you went into the restroom and saw yourself in the mirror? You ever get that moment? You're like, you just like don't really recognize yourself. You're like, oh, dude, you are fucked up. I did that on the flight here. I did. I'd never flown first class before. They just bring you drinks. A lot of people were like having 1 or 2. Dude, it's only a 2-hour flight. Suck it down. She appears to have nothing better to do. I'm trying to help her out. I'm like, she thinks she's going to get in trouble if she doesn't keep bringing me drinks or something. All right, so let me go back a second. Sorry. Shut up, Jessica. Yeah, leave the volume down on her. Sorry about that. She's so pretty, though. I love the lip thing. She's just a girl. I do this, so I can't be too pretentious. So, true story. I'm a little ahead of schedule, so I'll tell you another story about me if I could. So we talked about the comic thing and all that, and that's obviously very relevant to what I do as a marketer because I showed you the parallel universe, right? But about 7 years ago now, I almost died. How many people have had the near-death experience? Yeah, pretty cool, right? I completely agree with John that I highly recommend it. Mine was not a car wreck or anything like that. I just developed a fever in like the spring of 2005, and I thought, okay, it's a cold or something, and it just like never went away, you know. And I just every day I'd wake up with like 102 fever, and it sucked, and it was starting to get pretty scary. And I had just signed up for insurance. So I didn't want to. It was still in the probation period. So I was trying to like lay low until it kicked in for real. But it wasn't going away. And so a friend recommended a doctor, use that term very loosely, who misdiagnosed what I had as he thought I might have a thing called temporal arteritis, which is the temporal artery runs from your something to your eyeball, and the only way to keep from going blind if you have arteritis is with steroids. So he put me on 100 milligrams a day of prednisone. My wife took prednisone when we were pregnant, 10 milligrams a day, and she blew up like Martin Short in that movie where he gets stung by the bee. Remember that movie? It's fucking hilarious when the pilot looks back and he's like this big, and he's like, I'm fine, and you? And he's got that giant head. One day I was on the couch with my wife, and I looked over and had that moment, and her head was like that big. And I'm like, she's like, what? Nothing. So, and that was on 10 milligrams. I was on 100. And I was losing weight. What? That's not good. I was losing weight instead of puffing up. Something bad was going on. My wife, this is why married men live longer, did a lot of research, and she started to figure out that the reason I was probably losing weight was that prednisone steroids can onset diabetes. So, and I had a weird fruity smell to my breath, which was probably a nice change. And she realized, she said, your blood sugar is probably off. So my dad is type 2. We happen to be, it was Memorial Day or something. And I checked on his meter, and it didn't even register a number. It just said high, which means fucking run to an emergency room. Which I did, where it was over 600, my blood sugar, over 600. They took it down and said, go follow up with your same quack who now had me on this thing. He walks out and hands me one of those pills you take that if you're just over the line, you're sitting at around 120, it might help. I'm at 600, and this guy says, take 2 of these. It's a free sample. Hey, thanks, man. So another week goes by, and nothing's better. And I finally and because of the diabetes, my eyes I kept like almost going blind. And LensCrafters, I got to give him a shout out. The guy was so cool. They had to redo my glasses 4 times during this whole period. That's how bad my eyes were deteriorating. And at one point, I just kind of started going blind. And I was sitting across from my boss at the time, who was a hardcore drug addict and degenerate gambler. And we were having a conversation, me and him and his wife, and he looked at one point, and I thought I was kind of maintaining, you know. I couldn't see, but I was listening. It seemed important. And he looked at me and he goes, what is the matter with you? I go, I don't know. I'm having trouble seeing. I can't really see. He said, you're also drooling. And I said, he goes, He goes, dude, I'm a crackhead and you're making me nervous. That's the quote. Tells his wife, take him to the hospital. Leading up to that, the biggest priority, because I always believe no matter what's going on, you can't let life slow you down. And I had this dream of buying a 96 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham, because my buddy, who's a car guy, had told me that this is like the last real Caddy. This is you know what I mean? And I love like used big cars. And he told me it's the last real Caddy they made. You got to get one of these. And I found one, and I went and looked at it, and that was the day that we needed to get the check out of the bank and bring it to the place to get the car so I didn't lose it. So my boss's wife is driving me to the hospital, and I'm on the phone with my wife, and I say, look, honey, don't get nervous, but I can't see, and rumor is I'm drooling a little. And Debbie's driving me to the hospital, and I'm sure it's going to be fine. Just listen to me. Do me a favor. Don't come here. Go get the money for the car and bring it to them so I don't lose the car. And then that's the last thing I remember. And I literally stopped talking, and I sat there drooling worse and not otherwise conscious. So Debbie pulls up, and interns come out, and they bring me into the hospital, and they put me in a room, and I don't know, I wish I could have been there for this, but something happened where I had this superhuman strength. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's something God did or whatever. But I just where they're trying to tie you down. So I'm fighting every nurse and intern they can bring in the room. And my dad showed up at this point at the hospital, and he said it looked like an old John Wayne Western. He said these big nurses were running in, these male nurses, and then they'd come flying out the door. Holy crap, that guy's strong. Get more guys, And I'm like, God, I wish I would have been there for that. And I'm no recollection of any of that. So they tie me down, and they pump me full of whatever it is to sedate me. And I am unconscious for 48 hours. My wife, I was in, I guess, kind of a coma. And then, my wife sat there holding vigil at my bedside. And they had intubated me because they could, you breathe through a tube. And I don't like having anything weird in my mouth. That's another story. But so my wife sits there 48 hours thinking, and the doctors keep telling her, I'm pretty sure he's going to live. But we just don't know what his brain's like now. Yeah. We had one baby already. My son was about 2. And so she sat there not knowing what I was going to be when I woke up. So after about 48 hours, the next thing I remember is waking up, hearing my wife's voice and her sister's voice, and wanting desperately to talk and not being able to talk because I have a tube in my throat. So I start to tongue this thing out, and I'm just working it out. I want this thing out of me. And I hear a nurse or a doctor or something say, just pull it out. Okay, great. So they yank it out, but now I still can't talk because I've had it in my throat for 2 hours. But I have desperate question for my wife. And I can't talk. Don't get ahead of me. So she scurries and she hands me a pen and envelope. She says, just write it down, honey. Is it about me? Is it about the kids? I love you too. With all the energy I could muster, I wrote, car. We didn't lose the car, did we? She's still not forgiven me for that. I have the car. Thank you. It looks like shit now, but it was nice when I got it. I do. Ben Johnson is ridden in that car. I have the car. So, if I was to go into a different niche, I could write that story, right? Say I wanted to go into natural health. Hi, I'm Kevin Rogers. 6 years ago, a blood infection I contracted during a routine dental cleaning left me minutes from death. A heart surgeon saved my life, but the new medications were killing me all over again. Then I discovered a natural solution that has helped me get back into peak condition and rid myself of dangerous and expensive prescriptions forever. Right? Same exact formula, different story. Took me 10 minutes to tell you. Took about 30 seconds right there, right? So that's how good the formula works. John Carlton's nickel letter, which I read to you earlier. How does that follow the same pattern? Now, granted, the letter does a lot more after what I read you, but the formula is ordinary-looking man at a warehouse party in Tulsa. Struggle as he's cornered by 3 jackbooted skinheads. The discovery is the mysterious fighting tactics that turn the situation around 180 degrees. And the result is that the fight was over in 3 seconds and the skinheads are still jumpy. Great letter. So, do you think you guys could use this formula? Yeah? Good. I'm going to be early, Rich. I'm going to warn you. Is Richard back there? Stan, you're here. Cool. Did I hold you the whole time? I'll be the guy who's early. I'll make up for Brian. How early? 15. 10, 12. For fun, let me show you how, again, if it's not your product, it's not your name, you don't even have to be human to make this formula work. My dog Jesse could do it. Hi, I'm Jesse. I'm a 1-year-old beagle, miniature beagle from Florida. This is my family. When I first moved in with them, I struggled terribly with intramural bladder alleviation. Or what humans call peeing in the house. Every time this would happen, the humans, especially the tall, bald one, would get weird looks on their faces and yell things like, "No, no, no, Jesse." It was happening so often it seemed like they had changed my name to "damn dog." All I knew was that what made me feel really good was clearly upsetting the humans. Something needed to change. Then I discovered a really simple trick I can do whenever I feel an IBA coming on that magically causes the front door to open and gets me a free walk outside. Now I never have accidents anymore. Plus, I get more walks. And the humans never freak out and yell strange words at me anymore. To discover how you can learn the same simple trick in as little as 1 day, just tap the button marked "Show me your trick," and you'll get free instant access to my special report, How to End IBA Accidents Forever and Double Your Walks Overnight. I'll smell you there. Thank you very much. Oh, don't do that. Oh, don't do that. Sit, I mean it.